back. Well, yes, indeed. Dakole Ijogi, a political economist and a member of the PDP, joins us next this time to let's get the perspective as well to see how things are shaping up for them or otherwise. Good morning, Mr. Ijogi. Thank you for joining us on the program today.
Yes, good morning, Chamberlain. Thank you for having me.
Well, we do know that the North Central, the Middle Belt is indeed very crucial in this and any election. Well, not that other regions aren't actually. But so tell us, from your perspective, how are things looking right now? Because we did hear Senator did say that the PDP poses less threat to the APC compared to, say, the NNPP. So what's going on where you are at the moment concerning how these elections are shaping up and who possibly will get the nod, will clinch the victory at the end of the day this weekend?
Well, Chamberlain, to answer you honestly, the PDP is not in a very good shape. Reason being that happenings in the party, the historical antecedents that has happened within the party has put the PDP in a very precarious position. This I say is, I would like to say this by beginning by saying that those who know what the issues are in the PDP, they are not speaking. Those who understand it can only describe it. Those who have drank from the poisonous chalice of betrayal and treachery are the ones shouting in the rain. You have a PDP that is divided against itself. You have a PDP that is led by what I will call a cacophony of shaded interests that is neither for political exigencies or for progress, but rather for ethnic and religious, idiosyncrasies. Chamberlain, every election cycle has its social, economic, political, religious, and economic idiosyncrasies. That is each election cycle. Now, within the PDP, in 2014 to 2015, these same principal actors are the ones, that is the candidate Alhaji Atiku Abubakar and his co-hosts, the same gang, the ones that left the party in 2014 and ensured that the PDP is defeated in the 2015 elections, are the same people that have come together, the Dogaras, the Tambawals, the Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. And you see, the thing is that the Nigerian electorate is sensitive. The Nigerian electorate is watching. And now you now have the G5 governors. These are the same people that burnt down the house in 2015. In 2019, they came back to the party with rodents and reptiles. Now in 2023, they are still the same people. Now you can imagine those of us who are irredentive PDP members.
I'm not sure I get the point you're trying to make there, but those adjectives, I think we should just keep it on those issues so that they don't misconstrue your narrative as though we're denigrating their personalities, which I'm not sure that that's what you want to do. But just go ahead and let's stay on those issues and then talk about the chances of your party as a result of what is going on within your party. Are you ruling out your party from victory?
Well, coming from, currently I'm in Jos Plateau State, and I will tell you that the feelers within the Middle Belt, speaking to you as somebody that is in the national leadership of the Middle Belt Forum, I will tell you that it is not likely, because when you look at the numbers, Chamberlain, you look at the 2019 election results, PDP and Alhaji Atiku Abubakar got over 25% in the 6 states of the North Central and the FCT. When you look at the Northeast, they could only pull the PDP or Alhaji Atiku Abubakar could only pull 25% in 3 states. That is his home state of Adamawa, Taraba, and then Gombe. He had 9% in Yobe, 9% in Borno. And then when you go to the Northwest, the figures are also like that, just Sokoto, Jigawa, and Kaduna. And even in Kaduna, it is Southern Kaduna, which is part of the Middle Belt. So, and these are the areas where the Peter Obi and the Obi movement have now occupied. So I agree with you, on the start of your question, you talking and saying that the Middle Belt. I will tell you that the Middle Belt is highly and very unlikely to vote PDP this coming election, because there are different nuances, there are different scenarios that have been playing up. That you remember, not all Nigerian electorates are card-carrying members. The electorate have watched the PDP, and they have seen the political intrigues and the infighting, whether it is the G5 governors, whether it's the disagreement of strong members of our party. You can see that the PDP is really not flying. I mean, you can hear the rhetoric from Governor Otom of Benue State. So you know that it is very unlikely that the PDP will win out of the 7 states that you have in North Central, and then you have about 4 states that are middle belt states in the Northeast. It's very unlikely that the PDP will win even up to 3 or 4 of them. That is, they will make the required or statutory 25%.
Well, it is interesting that you almost equate the middle belt with North Central states. I do know that when it comes to the social politics of it, there are states within the Northeast that some parts of them identify as North Central. For instance, Taraba and Adamawa, which geographically speaking might not necessarily be in the North Central. So, I mean, I'll take you up on that. But I want to ask you a very personal question. You are a member of the PDP, and you've been introduced here as a member of the PDP. Will you be voting for your party, party's presidential candidate during the forthcoming elections?
Well, the leadership of the Middle Belt Forum have resolved that for the presidential election, it is not about party. This time around, it's about candidates. So the Middle Belt people have been directed to vote for former Governor Peter Obi of the Labour Party for only the presidential election. Then in other elections, the PDP, the candidates have been advised to vote for the People's Democratic Party. So other election, but for presidential election, will be voting for the candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi.
So for you, your social political identity has come before your political party?
Say that again, Maupe.
Your social political identity, the fact that you identify with the Middle Belt Forum, has come before your membership of the People's Democratic Party.
Yes, it has. Yes, it has, because of the infighting within the PDP, and then the suspicious way the things have been playing out. Like I was trying to say, that it is for those of us who are irredentist PDP members, we are very unhappy with the happenings within the party. I mean, this whole thing is about power shift. The reason why the Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, the Tamboas and the rest of them supported an APC government, left the PDP, supported an APC government to defeat a sitting PDP government was for power shift. Now, after 8 years of Muhammadu Buhari, we are saying that power should shift to the south, and they're saying no, they want to retain it. So it is, for them, it is about religion and ethnic identity. So they have not even put the party first. So we are saying that, well, we in the Middle Belt have identified all the leading candidates, even if you remove ethnicity and religion, which of course, Nigerians vote on those lines. If you remove that, the 4 leading candidates from Orabi Ukwamposo to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar to Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Mr. Peter Obi stands out. And luckily for us, our people understand this and are willing to go with us. So the thing is not about party politics now, it's about candidates. Just the same way, the same rhetoric that Governor Otom mentioned, it is about candidates. And then this 2023 election, it's so dire. Nigeria is in dire straits. We cannot afford not to get it right. We cannot repeat the same mistakes of the past. So it is about candidates and not about party.
Well, Mr. Igoji, I'm going to ask you to just hold on a bit. I'm going to take this to Lagos. One of our correspondents is on standby, and my colleagues in Lagos is going to quickly bring her in, and then we'll come back to you. Over now to you, Kayode.
Right, thank you, Maupe. Just let me stay on that conversation just for a moment and ask Mr. Jogi. For a lot of people, they might say that, well, maybe this was always going to happen, seeing your antecedent, especially politically. I mean, pre-2019 elections, you were in the SDP. Am I correct? Okay, I'm not sure if you can hear me or... I didn't get that.
Yes,
sorry,
I can
go
hear
ahead.
you.
Okay, so I was saying that you were in the SDP pre-2019 election, am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
We moved from the PDP to the SDP.
Right. Up until
we were disagreed.
Sorry, you can land on that point.
With the emergence of Uche Secondus and his leadership style.
Right.
And we were all for the same thing about power of rotation, the principle of rotation that is embedded in the constitution of the party.
Okay, so I mean, this went on up until 2021, I believe, when you were said to have returned. So for a lot of people, they will have said, I mean, this is no surprise anyway. You had left the PDP at some point, so coming back, they thought maybe you weren't even for the PDP entirely. So hearing you say this, some might not be surprised because they will have thought maybe you were a double agent all along. But I wonder for you, seeing that the party you belong to, if I'm correct again, you're still a member of the PDP, right? At least as at this morning.
Super K. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar left the PDP to ACN, left ACN to
It's okay. I mean, that's out there.
All of them are
that's out there.
So
I'm speaking.
It's not even about that.
It's okay. I know. I'm speaking about your person, just so that people know where this is coming from. You're still in the PDP up until this morning. Am I correct?
I have said so that some of us are irredentist PDP members, and we take some decisions so as to strengthen the party, so as to ensure that the party gets it right. Because we can't be doing the wrong thing consistently and expecting the correct outcome.
So here comes my question, Mr. Jogi. So how would you be strengthening your party? How is this move strengthening your party when you're clearly voting for someone who is not in your party, meaning that you want your party to lose this election? And your party, which you say you're still a member of, has, I mean, you have a clear constitution that speaks to anti-party activity. So help me understand, and by extension Nigerians, how will this singular act of you voting for an opposing candidate, by extension, making your party, at least contributing to your party losing, if that will happen, how will that strengthen that same party?
Let me start by saying that, let me just draw your mind back, cast your mind back to the elections, to 2008 elections in America. When the senior citizen, General Colin Powell, who is a Republican, endorsed Barack Obama, do you think these issues that you have been raising were not considered by him? Now, let me tell you this, that in a political system, especially like the one that we have created in Nigeria, that there comes a time when certain hard decisions have to be taken in the interest of our country. It is not about politics now. It is not about party. And besides, a political party is only a platform to get political power. And the political power is supposed to be used for the benefit of the citizenry. Now, if you are within a political party and you disagree with the processes leading to the outcome of candidates, especially the presidential candidates, it behoves on you. I mean, some people, people might not, I can tell you that over 50-60% of people's democratic members who are not going to be voting for the presidential candidate of the party, especially the ones around in the middle belt. But they might not come out on air to say it, but on that day, they are going to cast their votes for Peter Obi. They are not Labour Party members. Now, you see, while we're looking at political parties and looking at Nigeria at one hand, and Super K, I would like to just draw your attention to the fact that at the end of the day, we go to the same market. At the end of the day, we drive the same streets with a high level of insecurity. At the end of the day, we look at the value of the currency that has been destroyed. At the end of the day, it is about a candidate that can deliver. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, the institutions are weak. So everything boils down to the individual, to the candidate. And when you look at, like I said before, look at the front-running candidates, you know that the former Governor Peter Obi stands out head and shoulders amongst all the other candidates. So for me, it is about our country. It is not about whether I left the PDP or I'm in the PDP or I'm not. Of course, I'm irredentist PDP. I'm going to, I should leave the PDP for who?
Right.
For who?
So does your party laws, the constitution of your party, I just want to be sure that, you're aware, does it allow for such acts? Are you aware that that is anti-party activity?
It depends on how you look at it. It depends on how you look at it. We are not, those of us who are irredentist PDP members are not campaigning for Peter Obi. We're not. We're not campaigning for him.
I mean, you just did, Mr. Ajogi. I mean, campaigns happen in different ways. You just did. You've talked about his qualities. If that is not campaign, I wonder what campaign is, because you're speaking to millions of Nigerians on this platform, and a lot of them might be swayed. And that's what campaigning is all about, really. Talk about the candidate, his strength, and say, well, that's the person I'm voting for. By extension, you should vote for that person. That's campaign in the simplest form.
Yes, in a very, very simple form. But what I intend to say here is, as in going street to street, stage to stage, and stuff like that, most PDP members who disagree with this whole process, they just have only one vote, and they're just going to express it on that day. And remember, it is secret ballot. So you can't even prove what this person is doing. If you see me on a stage where you have Peter Obi and the rest of them campaigning, that's the campaign I'm talking about. I'm just telling you that as somebody who is in the national leadership of the Middle Belt Forum, the leaders of the Middle Belt have resolved that this is the direction that our people should go with regards to the presidential election.
Well, Mr. Ajogi, your secret ballot, regardless, your position here on our program, points clearly to where you're headed. So I wonder how your party will be dealing with that. But let's look, a bit closer at the decision of your group, at the home level, the Middle Belt elders, to point citizens in the direction of the Labour Party, which pretty much enhances our fault lines. But then again, the argument could go further that the candidate that has been endorsed is not particularly from the Middle Belt. But this certainly has implications. But if I refer that also to how you started earlier on saying that, the people are aware of history, don't you think that the people will wield their independence this time around, regardless of how the Middle Belt elders have asked them to vote?
Well, we in the Middle Belt we work closely together, especially when it comes to matters of our own survival. For us in the 2023 election, especially the presidential election, it is about the survival of the people in the Middle Belt. There have been carnage, killings, kidnapping, land grabbing, land occupation, land expulsion. I mean, the Middle Belt is in the brunt of this matter in the Middle Belt. There's carnage, there's bloodbath in the Middle Belt. And we are saying that when you have someone that is from a particular ethnic group that has ruled for 8 years, it is only common sense and based on equity, fairness, and justice for it to swing the other way. And we are saying that we cannot be doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome. Let us try someone from the Southeast. Maybe this time around, we will get it right. Nigeria will be secure. A new Nigeria will be possible. Maybe, because we have been doing this thing over and over and over again, the thing is not correct. So I'm telling you that we in the Middle Belt, we are closely knit. If you look at the voting pattern and you study election results, you will find out that Middle Belt usually votes towards the same direction, from southern Kaduna to southern Borno, southern Gombe, southern Yobe, Adamawa, Taraba, Benue, Plateau, Nasarawa. We all vote towards it. So we're closely knit. And I can tell you this, that for the first time, political leadership and followership are aligned. The interests are aligned. That is why we're all moving towards the same direction politically.
Well, it is interesting. I'm sure that a lot of, academics would like to explore the connection between socio-political groups such as the Middle Belt Forum and political parties as time goes on, because we also see that down south, especially in the southwest, Afenifere is also saying it is the turn of the southeast. They would like to support, they're appealing to their people to support the candidate of the Labour Party, but the political parties seem to have a mind of their own, and they have, supporters there. It will be interesting to see what eventually pans out on Saturday. But in your own estimation, what do you think should be the connection between socio-political groups and political parties, do you think that they really help the cause of our politics, or they actually put a wedge between politics and, you know, national cohesion in terms of how we look at things?
Well, Mark, to answer you honestly, I think that the structure of Nigeria is defective. Hence, the need for these social cultural groupings to speak up, to represent their ethnicities. Because if you look at it politically, you have most of the local governments, you know how revenues are shared. Most of the local governments are further north. In fact, all the local governments that you have in Southeast cannot match the local government that you have in 3 states in the Northwest, that is Kano and 2 states, Kano and Jigawa. So the structure is a little bit defective, hence the need for other power blocks that represents particular interests. There is religion inside Nigerian politics. There is, well, and rightly so. I mean, the Americans got Donald Trump elected based on some certain political ideologies, that is nationalist, to say the least. So I think that to answer your question, looking at national cohesion, the history of Nigeria, how Nigeria was created, and the creation of states and local governments and stuff like that, from regions to local government, beholds the fact that we need certain political interest powers to also engage in the negotiation of who gets what and why and when, which is essentially what politics is. So we're growing in our own democracy, and we will get there. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen overnight, and it will not happen overnight. And it will have to take efforts.
But how can you, pardon me, how can you say for sure that this disagreement within the PDP is going to count for something at the end of the day? Because we have heard people in the PDP saying, no, it won't matter, because we've seen other members of those states pledge their allegiance to the PDP. And they say, like every other leader, they all have one vote, and those votes will count.
Well, you see, the interesting thing about politicians is that we are diehard optimists. Nobody is coming to say that his own party is going to lose and all of that. But those of us who happen to have other professions, like I'm an economist, so I'm always looking at the numbers. When you look at the numbers, it just doesn't work out, because the political arrangements, especially when you look at where I prefer to call Arewa Nigeria, which is Sokoto, Zamfara, Kebbi, all those up fringes of the north, which I call Arewa, not the middle belt, Arewa. When you look at that, you see the emergence of Kongoso going to hurt the PDP. And you come down to the middle belt area, the emergence of Ubi has completely taken over, which is the traditional hold. And like I said, when you look at the numbers, especially in 2019, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar scored over 25% in the 6 states of the North Central and FCT. When you expand it to the middle belt, these your so-called geopolitical zones like Adamawa, Taraba, and Gombe, he also scored over 20, which are middle belt areas. He also scored over 25%. But these areas are now fully obedient. So if you base the thing on normal to say that, well, this state traditionary PDP, the political calculation is changing. They said so about Macron. Now he's the president of France. They said so about William Ruto in Kenya. Now he's the president of Kenya. The political class don't want to accept that the traditional political systems are changing because of introduction of technology, because of interest of young people, because of the suffering of the people. People just want a new direction. They want to have hope. They want to believe in something. They want to birth a new nation.
All right.
So they can go and believe in all those old traditional political structures. People will be shocked.
They always say time.
A couple of days away.
Time tells a lot of things, and this will definitely be one of the things that time will tell. Well, thank you for talking to us this morning, Adakole Ijogi, political economist and member of the PDP.
Thank you for having me.